Hello everyone. Today we are having with us Mr. Dominic with us. He's the father of motor skills development. Welcome Dominic for the session.
Good morning, or no, maybe good evening, guys. I'm a little early here in Europe.
Giving the brief introduction of Mr. Dominic, he is a Swiss Olympic coach, and he had also gone with many of the workshops, giving the training to the kids and also to the trainers in 20 plus more than 20 countries. Am I right, Dominic?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, I don't count them, but it's fun. It's always fun.
Yes. And he had already spent his 18 years in researching motor skill games for kids.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a long time, but still learning.
Okay, so today's topic we had chosen for why motor skills are important for early years. So we are also having with us Miss Preeti Quatra with us. Hello, Preeti ma'am, for the session.
Hello, everyone.
She is a parenting coach who will be taking the question and answer session with Mr. Dominic. So, Preeti ma'am, over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Manika, for such a kind introduction. Hello, Dominic. Once again, a very warm welcome to Indian platform. Great.
Hello.
So, we are very excited, Dominic, to learn from you a lot about motor skills. As you know, India is an academic-driven country, right? And every parents really want their child should be able to read and write very well, right? So, but as per my expertise and as per my understanding and the research says, fine motor skills is not just about how your child is going to write, but it is far more important than that, and it's far more wide spectrum than that. And every child has to prepare for that. Just like before driving a car, we need to learn how to drive. So I believe before writing ABCD or before writing anything, every child need to prepare his fine motor and gross fine motor skills. So today we are fortunate enough to have with us father of motor skill development. Let's take from the Dominic how a parent and a school can work with fine motor skills, and how can we help our children to have a best of the fine motor skills so that writing can become an easy for them. So Dominic, my first question is why motor skills are important for early years.
Okay, let me take it from there. Maybe I'll sum it up. What I want to show you a little bit. One is why motor skills are important.
Okay, okay.
The next one is why talent is mostly overrated. So a
Yes.
lot of people or parents think that the child is either talented or not, and then they either give up or they pursue it. And then the last one, why the early years are super important. So I want to focus on these three things, and then I'll show you a little bit how we work at the Motor Skill Learning Academy in Switzerland, where we put together PE programs for 3 to 7-year-olds. The basic idea is really to build a foundation so children can participate in any sport they want to play on. And then I'll show you a couple examples of what you can do with or how we structure our lessons. Is that good for you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Over to you, Dominic.
Okay. Let's make sure everyone's ready.
Wow, kids are ready. We are also ready.
Yes, we are ready.
Okay, let's
Parents
go.
are ready. I hope most of the parents have joined us. Or yes, over to you, Dominic.
Okay, so why motor skills are important. So what happens these days is very common that a lot of parents or even organizations think they can send their children to a sport straight away, often only at primary school, that often is only age 7, without having any foundations, without having done anything before. So they end up going to these sports classes. Let's say they go to cricket at age 7 and they can barely keep balance.
Yes.
And a lot of times what happens is they miss the ball. They never had a chance to catch a ball. And so they get frustrated quickly. So that's very common these days. So there's two problems. One is parents don't really appreciate or the time it's needed before to learn the foundation, like learning the alphabet. In sports, you need to learn basic fundamental skills. And then the other thing is often classes are not provided below primary school or below age 7. So often there's a lack of classes. So these two things are super important.
Yes.
And then all sports are made up of motor skills. And these motor skills are their reaction, balance, rhythm, orientation, and differentiation. So there's different models, but these are the basic skills. And every sport is made up of those skills. And if there's a lack of those, often what happens, as I said, kids don't enjoy what they're doing. They don't enjoy the sport. And because they don't enjoy it, kids don't do anything they don't like, so they give up. So it's absolutely mandatory that they have some fundamental skills. So I thought what I'll do, I'll share a little bit of part, go in and out of a presentation. Hang on. So you get to see a couple of details about it.
Yes.
I will share here the first part. So this is the path. Can you see the screen share?
No. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So this is the typical path, like of learning a sport. So, and it has to be this path. If it goes backwards on the wrong order, a child is greatly limited. First is fundamental motor skills. It's just basic skills like maintaining balance, being able to track a ball, like running at a certain speed. That's rhythm. That goes to coordination, which usually means that you combine a couple different skills in more meaningful activities, like if you play a game. So you maybe combine like running after a ball and catching it. That means tracking an object in space and timing it correctly that you don't miss it. And eventually these skills are combined in a very specific way that you can apply to a sport. So we call that sport-specific skills. So this is usually the order it has to go, though. That's the best way. As I said, these are the foundations to play any sport. Let's make an example. We have golf here. If you want to play golf well, the basic skills are throwing, catching, and blocking. These are the basic motor skills for any racket sport, like also cricket might be a better example for India. So if you're good at these three things, throwing, blocking, catching, that translates really well into tennis, into cricket, into golf, in all racket sports. If you lack in those skills, it's going to be very difficult to hit the ball. This would be a child, or maybe a good analogy for a child who has no motor skills or a lack of motor skills. It's like a house that has a very poor foundation. And
yes.
The better the foundation, obviously, the easier it is to build on it. The easier to expand. The training gets more efficient, and so on. So I hope this analogy helps a little bit. So the better the foundation, that's where you want to put all the effort into initially. That'll allow you to become a great sportsman. Let me need to figure out how to get out here. Okay, so back here we are. I hope you're still here. Okay, good. So what that means, if you have a good foundation, it doesn't happen all by itself. Okay, you have to actually be proactive and build that with young children. They don't learn it by getting older. They don't learn it by growing taller, and they don't learn it just by doing sports. So we have to be active. That's very it's critical. And maybe I'll share maybe a few more things with this presentation here. The key. Can you see it again? Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay,
we are able to see.
Sorry, guys. So the key is for optimal long-term success is if children have those skills, the key is that they gain confidence. That's what it's basically about. If they don't have these skills, often they give up, they lack confidence, and they get into a negative spiral where they just keep giving up or not even trying. And what we focused on, we did a long study, about 3 years. What should be done until age 10 is, we call it versatility. That means expose children to the greatest amount of movement repertoires that are possible. So expose them to many different movement experiences and try not to specialize below 10. So that's very important. So for example, in Swiss tennis, we don't have any competitions below 10 anymore. The main object is skill building and not competition. Versatility, that's, as I said, we call it, is the most promising path for success, both for long-term sports involvement, for health reasons, for the whole population, but it's also the most promising path for our professional athletes if somebody really wants to excel. It's the most suitable in terms of optimal training. So if you have like training studies, like it's more efficient if you do it that way, and you can expand much faster. You can improve much faster because there's some basic skills available, and it's obviously the most child appropriate path because they want to have fun. They don't come for learning; they come for fun. So the more you vary, the better. This is an important graph. So here you see the difference of a child who specializes early. That's typical what happens if a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old does a little bit of cricket or basketball more than somebody who hasn't done anything. Usually they're better in the beginning, right here. Doesn't go very long. If somebody has a good foundation of skills and picks up basketball or cricket later on, the red path has a much greater potential, and it also keeps accelerating at the steeper, inclining steeper. Like if you only do one sport and stick with it with no development, it flattens out here. So you can see a child that specializes too early. No assessment, as I mentioned. So we try not to assess. That's, I think, very important. Depending on culture, you have to. So you have to play with it. But we try not to assess children when they're young. Again, the focus is skill building. Make sure they build skills. If you focus on assessments, often children are inhibited. So they don't try. They don't want to try. They're intimidated. I made maybe the last part why it's super important for motor, especially a versatile motor skill development program, is because young children, they learn a lot through movement. And what that does is the brain develops. So the more they move, the more cells get fired, the more connections are getting made between cells, the more different parts of the brain work together. And these paths, they also get faster. So that happens a lot through movement when they're young. Everything they touch, everything they look at, that's where the cells fire and they get stronger and bigger. So it's a great part for getting a bigger and better brain. So you don't have to just think about like, oh, he's going to be a great sportsman. So that's the first part of why motor skills are important. I don't know if you want to break it up for a quick Q&A or should we keep going with the next one?
Dominic, could you hear me?
Yeah.
Please go ahead, Dominic.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, so we'll do a next one.
Okay.
Make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone's ready again. So the next will be.
Yeah. Of course, yes.
Why talent is overrated, or is not that important.
Yes.
So we think that talent is greatly overrated. Most skills are developed; you're not born with them. So every healthy child at age 7, if they go through some kind of development program that just builds the basic foundation, should be able to participate in any sport they like, or they get a liking or develop a liking for. So what we found is, I'll show you just briefly, maybe a few more things. So you don't have to look at my face all day long. So the unimportance of talent, so the overrating. So as I said, skills are mostly developed. And what we found is that about 45% of skills that the child has is genetically predetermined. But there's a big part, as you can see, it's 55% that depends on, 25% depends on what happens at home, what parents do with their children when they were very young, where they take them, what kind of toys do they have laying around, play with. And then the other 25% is also a big part, is what happens in school and after school programs, sports programs. So there's a big part you actually can do on your own, or you determine the big part of the paths children can take. So obviously we have a precondition that limits our potential outcomes to some degree, but also there's a big part we can kind of encourage and determine the outcome of children. So I hope that helps a little bit to not to think that, you know, my child is either talented or not. You can see that a lot with young children who, like, you can see one child that has been exposed to, let's play, they play with balloons a little bit, and obviously they're much better with catching any balls, and then other parents compares their own child to that child who had some experiences already. And just because having had those experiences gives a young child an advantage, doesn't mean that he or she is more talented. So the main thing is expose them to as many possible movement experiences as is possible, a wide range. So that's about genetics. Now, if there's no interruption, then we'll go to the third part, which I want to talk a little bit about the importance of the early years. And that's where the many habits are formed already. They're formed very early, and they're very hard to change. As I mentioned before, at age 7, if you send your child into a sports class that has no skills yet, it's really difficult to succeed or to enjoy it.
Yes.
So it's really important that we start very early.
Okay.
One is to understand, and the second part is also to make sure we have classes that are offered at that age, that not focus on sports specifically.
Okay. Yes.
And do you want to chip in, or should I?
Yes, Dominic, I want to ask, as
Yeah.
you know, lockdown is going on in India, right?
Yeah.
Lockdown is going on, and children are there with their parents, and parents are struggling up to a certain extent how to engage their children. So, what are the best activities you recommend so that parent can work on the motor skills of their children? Because once the lockdown will be over, schools will restart. They hardly will get this kind of a time when they can pay a quality time to with their children.
Yeah, I think you're breaking up, but it's all I can say is the more the better. The more I don't know how much experience I have. What I suggest is there's many activities. We just started a program with about 200 games where you don't need any teaching aids. So we just put that online. That's our one of our new programs. That's a good game, and use the environment you're in. Let's say use the stairs. There's so many activities you can do: walking, jumping, crawling up the stairs, down the stairs. With rhythm, with physical activity. Anything you have in your household. I'll show you after a few things you can do with a newspaper. So you can really use the environment well. Most of the stuff can be substituted with simple teaching aids. If you use a fly swatter, you can use that for hand-eye coordination. So it's hard to, there's so many you can do, but really think about what can you use in your household and use the environment. As I said, the stairs, we have stairs in our center where I have children climb on the railing up the stairs instead of walking them. It's all these little things that children are very curious. They also don't mind if it doesn't work. So it's good to show them something. Yes. There's two things I think you have to keep in mind. One is children haven't seen a lot of things we have seen as adults. So if you show them, they have an idea, okay, this is possible. So you might want to, show them a lot of things, and it's completely irrelevant for young children if it works or if it doesn't, because they don't mind. They just want to have fun.
Yes.
They're happy trying. So I know it's difficult. I don't know if you guys are allowed to get out of the house. If you can get out of the house, it's much easier.
Yeah. See, lockdown is open in some areas of the India, but not in all parts of India. Still, parents are struggling, yeah, right? But I would like to ask why some of the children are facing a lot of problem in correct formation of letters when they start their writing. You know, when they start the small lower case or upper case, a lot of children face a lot of problem in maintaining the right, curves going in a one direction. All these things are actually creating some of the time is a challenging time for the children.
Well, I mean, there's two things. One is that we specialize in motor skills, gross motor skills, so we don't really
Yeah,
focus on
yeah,
fine motor skills. Obviously, they're very connected. What I can see, I'm
okay,
sure it applies the same to fine motor skills, is children these days, they're just not, they're not doing that much with their hands and their feet anymore. It's just too
yes,
one-dimensional computers. When I used to grow up, my dad, he built all kinds of toys with me with wood, and we were like constantly building something, or you explore, you outside, and it's just these little things that add up over time. So children need to get away from the screens. That's my of course there's times where it's
yes,
really helpful, but children need to use their hands. There's so much. I mean, that's what they say when you write, it sinks in your brain better rather than typing it. So if you handwrite it, so I think there's a good point of like getting away from screens.
yes, of course, yes,
That's what I
of course.
that's what I would suggest.
Nini, very good point. Very good point, Dominic. Very good point. Okay, let's go to the third part, which you would like to share with us. Then we will go to the further question and answer session.
Okay, let's do that. So the next one would be, as I mentioned, the early parts are super important. That's where the habits are formed. And let me see what I can show you a little bit. So what is important for motor skills is there's an ideal window. So it's really difficult to make it up if you miss that window. You can always make it up to some degree. It's just more difficult. And that for motor skills especially is age 3 to 7. So you want to do or pack in as many different activities in that time frame that you can. Expose children to as many different activities and not the same, not everything with balls. If some child is very good with balls, teach them something with rhythm, with dancing, go swimming, go biking. The more different things you can do, the better. So you don't want to miss that age. That's critical. Because children at that young age, they have perfect conditions to learn that. And that's never gonna come back. So I'll show you a couple of things. There's one is physical aspects that are perfect at that age. So you can see a couple here.
Yeah.
So they have a huge urge to move. We all know that. But that's very helpful. They're very curious and equipped biologically to learn. So we call that the seeking system. So that's built into us.
Yes.
As that we always look around and try to figure out things. And then they're not afraid of failing most of the time, especially when they're young. Let's say they fall down, they're not going to say, "Oh, okay, I fell down, I'm never going to walk again." That usually doesn't happen. So they keep getting up, trying and imitating. So they keep trying. And then next part, the lever ratios are very good when they're young. So they're small, light, the head is very large. That usually means it's very easy for them to fall. One is they're not afraid of falling, but it's also easy for them to fall. That is really helpful to learn skills. And then they have, basic skills like balance are very well developed. That's one part that's important. But then there's also the psychological aspect, where the brain. Oh, here we go. The brain is, it's very well developed. I think it's at age 5, 80% of the brain connections already developed. So the brain is still very plastic. Nothing's formed yet. So it's really easy to configure the brain. Makes it much easier. So that's why it's super important to do it very early. That's where the habits are formed. And you can see, for example, I don't know if you remember, some of you might be a little too young for this, but if you remember Andre Agassi, he was #1 in tennis for a long time. And his dad was a bit crazy, but he was really
Yes.
forced to, at a young age, to like learn certain skills. Like his dad put a mobile on his cradle where he was as a little baby, and he always saw these little tennis balls flying around. So he was learning to track balls from a very young age. So he was famous for that, and he was also very good at anticipating where the balls go. And that basically was like, because he started very early at age 1. Obviously, it was a bit nuts, but you can tell that if you do it early, every interaction thereafter like builds on that early interaction. That goes both physically and psychologically as well. So if a child gives up early, a good example I have in my class is you always have some kids or 1 or 2 kids that is a bit shy and doesn't want to try, and they sit out. And if you want to include them, maybe they they get reluctant, and that already forms a little bit of a vicious cycle where the next time they come, they're already used to that, like sitting on the side and not having to participate. Same goes physically. So if somebody learns to track a ball early, next time they do it, it gets easier. So they keep doing it because it's easier. Yeah. So we have to be very, very cognizant of that all this stuff forms so early. If you don't do anything, it's difficult to make up, and you might get into a vicious cycle. So maybe 3 things to remember, hopefully. So you know now why motor skills are important, because your child is not going to excel in sports, or might not even like it, or gives up very early doing sports. And then also that 2, talent is overrated. So most of the skills are learned. You're not really born with it. And then 3rd, it's important to do a lot when they're young. So maybe hopefully you can take these 3 things in mind with you. And maybe we should do you want to open it up for questions, or?
Okay, that's really nice, Dominic. You have given quite full of insights into this topic. I think now parents will understand that they really want their children to be good in sports. If they really want their children good to be in design, they need to work on the gross motor skills of their child. Am I right, Dominic?
Absolutely. I hope they understand it right away now.
Okay, great. Yes. And Dominic is here with us from the Switzerland, and I wish if Dominic can suggest us some activity which parents can do with children while they are at home, and which develops the life skills and which will help them to develop motor skills also. Yes, Dominic, please suggest us 4 to 5 activities which parents can do with their children.
Okay.
Because everybody is at home in this lockdown.
Okay, so I'll move a little bit so you have a little bit, you can see a little bit better. Maybe before we go on, I want to thank Fitfutures India, Hello Kids India, and Riverstone Schools India. I think those are the ones I know who made this possible, and to host this live broadcast. So, what I thought, let me do a couple of things with newspapers. Okay, so I think everyone has a newspaper.
Yes, we are ready, Dominic.
And I'll show you how we structure our lessons. So every lesson has 7 aspects to it. The first one is physical activity, which we include because it's important for young kids to activate the heart and strengthen the bones. And this is the number 1 favorite games for our kids, especially for physical activity. So you have to define a story. What we do it is we have newspapers. Okay, you make little rolls, maybe put some tape around, and then you tell children that you have a wasp on your butt, and they need to kill it so it doesn't sting you. So, just to make sure you can see. So you have a wasp on your butt. Hope it's acceptable in your culture, and then they need to chase you and kill this wasp on your butt. And you can do the same. So this is the number 1 activity my kids love. They run forever until they're completely exhausted. You might be a little careful in the apartment. Maybe use a different story. Maybe put 2 balloons on your butt. But this is our children. They run and they do not want to stop because they love to hit the coach. You can use the knees if it's not acceptable. Okay, so that's number one. Then next one, number two, reaction. So then the next activities, every week is the same or every lesson is the same. We have 7 activities. If it's not enough, we go to the next 7. It's always physical activity, reaction, balance, rhythm, orientation, differentiation, and hand-eye coordination. Hand-eye coordination because more than 60% of the sports have to do with hand-eye coordination. Okay, let's go back to reaction. You take a piece of newspaper, maybe half, straighten your arm, let it drop and try to catch it before it drops on the floor. Okay, so it's probably hard to see. So you drop it, and it goes left and right if it's too easy. So you rip it apart, and you make it smaller. So this one's going to fly faster. Try to catch it. Next. The next one I would do is you make little balls with newspapers, put them on the floor, you stand on one leg, and you have to pick them up, put it on the table. Maybe do 5 of these. Okay, you can do the same. Children have to pick them up with their feet and put it into a bucket. So it's very good. Everything they do on one leg, it's really helpful for balance. You can also have a race where you have these in the middle, 2 children against each other. Maybe you have 10 of these in the middle. They have to go and pick them up with their feet, bring them behind their own line. So they come, pick one up with their feet, jump on one leg to the area, put it in their bucket, come back, pick the next one. So that would be for balance. Then next we can do one together. That'll be fun. So everyone should have a newspaper now. Or maybe let's go back to balance. Another thing you can do is, so you have 2 pieces of newspaper, you put them on the floor, and they walk across the apartment. They can only stand on the newspaper. So they lay one newspaper. Let's see if you can see this. So you stand on one newspaper, then put the next one over here. Pick up the other one, walk through the apartment like this. So this would be also for balance. Now, next one will be rhythm. So this is a good combination. Most skills are not isolated, so usually you combine them. Okay, so you never do them in isolation. This would be for hand-eye coordination, very good. Also for rhythm. The more of a rhythm you have in every sport, the better it is, or the easier it is to learn. And the more efficient it is under pressure. So rhythm is really important. It's highly underrated. So I hope everyone has a little newspaper ball. You can put tape around it. You can use anything. You can take a piece of rubber, any ball, anything you can throw and catch. Let's try this together. So the first one will be, you just do this, get a rhythm. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, once you can do this, this now really builds the brain. Watch this. So as you catch, you touch your front. Gain a rhythm. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2. Not. Okay, not like this. You have to do it together. As you catch, you should be here. You use both sides of the brain like this at the same time. So you cross the middle line. Let's do one more, and then we'll start making it more difficult. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Next. I hope you can see it. We do this with our knees. 1, across. 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. I hope you got it so far. Now we combine it. Okay? It's a good way to build this over a couple of days. Now we alternate. We do the head and then the knees. So we start with the head. 1, 2, knees. Head. Okay, hope that worked so far. Now we add the third component. I'll go a little further away. I hope you can still see it. Now we cross the legs behind. So you throw it up and cross. The ball always goes back and forth. It keeps going. 1, 2. 1, 2. Maybe I'll show you like this. One more like this. This is the hardest usually. One more. So you can build one at a time, then you combine it. Now we combine all three. So try all three together. We start with the head again. Knees and behind. Head, knees, behind. Then you could make it more and more difficult. You can add movement, step forward, step back. You could do something different on this side than on the other side. So you can touch the head, knee, across. Head, knee, across. So for every throw, I switch side again. Always crossing the middle line. So this would be very good for rhythm. The more of a rhythm you have with everything, the easier it gets, as I mentioned. And this would be a really good, probably better than doing math classes at 5 to try this. A little bit more fun for children. And you just as well build the brain this way. So are you still with me? Are you all good? Okay, then let's go on to the next one. We'll go for differentiation. Oh, okay, good. We're still here, huh? So we'll do 2 more and then.
Yes, Dominic, we have seen the activity is really good, and it's really difficult also for us also. If you try the 3 together, one head, one cross leg, and then one knee, it is really challenging one also. I think the parent should start with the one at a time, and slowly and steadily, once the child start making the balance, they can move on further. Great. So
Exactly.
Dominic, are you going to show us few more activities?
Let me show you two more so you see a little bit of structure we do. We have
Great.
next one is differentiation. So we had,
Okay.
just to make sure. So next one now, sorry, we stuck at orientation. Orientation is the next one. What that means is usually tracking objects in space, tracking your body in space, where I'm at, and tracking time.
Okay.
Orientation, what we do, for example, you can use newspapers, make 10 of these.
Okay.
You make a battle. Snowball in our country, maybe it's I don't know, mud ball in your country, you don't have too much snow, but you try to fight against each other like this, okay? You have a certain channel, you throw these against each other. So that's really fun, very good for hand-eye coordination, orientation, tracking an object.
Okay.
So that's orientation. The next one will be differentiation.
Okay.
Differentiation means that anything you vary. So young children need to learn to adjust. Let's say you have a ball that bounces differently on different surfaces, for example. They maybe use a different racket. They play squash, they play badminton, they play tennis. So every time they have to adjust, that's called differentiation. Pretty much everything you vary. So one thing you can do, for example, have two children hold on to a newspaper. That's very good.
Okay.
For rhythm as well, as I mentioned, it's often combined, and they walk around through the apartment without breaking it apart. Walking up the stairs, each child holds to one end. They start running. Often what happens, one child goes in one direction and the other in the other, and it goes apart. The goal is to keep it. Especially when they walk up the stairs, they need to cooperate together and always hold on to it.
Yeah.
That would be differentiation. Let's say you go flat and you go up the stairs, that's differentiation. You vary.
Okay.
And then maybe the last one, as I mentioned, hand-eye coordination.
Yes.
So these are the rackets, and you have a balloon. So hard for me. So
even we try this activity in our schools.
Okay, perfect. So I mean, you know, there's hundreds of these, but simple with a newspaper, you can play over game, play against each other. So these will be the structure we use in our curriculums.
Okay.
So all 5 motor skills, hand-eye coordination, and physical activity.
That's great, Dominic. That's a really insight that parents can learn with such a small thing, and the things which are available in our surroundings and the resources as of now which are available in this lockdown. If they really tried with those things, I think they are able to engage the children first, and then the second thing is that they are able to help the children to develop their fine motor skill and gross motor skills. Right. Okay, Dominic, there is a one question which I am getting over here is, what reading do you recommend as a psycho wanting to build a program similar to yours? And the second part of the question is frequency per week we should give to the children for this course. And the third is, can you mix the children from the age group 3 to 7? I think this question has 3 parts.
Maybe let's do one at a time. That might be easier.
Yeah.
What's the first one? Let me make sure I'm ready for the answers. Okay, so here we go.
Wow. I'm liking your props.
Yeah, I know. It's important with your little kids, so that's how you get excited. So what's the first question again?
Okay. What reading do you recommend as a psycho wanting to build a program similar to yours? If anybody would like to conduct a fine motor skill or gross motor skill program, what kind of readings you can recommend? I think they're asking about the books.
Okay. Well, the best is go to our blog. We have a very long article about how to build P curriculum guide. A P curriculum guide for ages 3 to 7. So it builds up. We have different blocks. One is do the right thing at the right age. That's motor skills at age 3 to 7. Then do versatility. That means expose children to the most movement experience possible. A game-based approach using stories. That's pretty much the 4 fundamental blocks of a good program, we think.
Okay, you kindly rename the block name. P block.
Let me put it in the comments.
Yeah.
I'll pull it up and I'll put it in the comment.
You put it in private chat so that we can put it in the comments, live comments in Fitfutures.
So and what's the next question?
Next question is, what should be the frequency per week so that you can enroll in this program?
So here would be the link.
Okay.
And frequently, ideally, the more the better. So it's better to do 10 minutes every day than 1 hour a week. So because
Okay.
the brain keeps processing stuff and keeps building connections. So the more frequent, the better. So if you can split it up, it's better. Obviously, it's not always logistically feasible.
Okay. The same. One more question. Can we mix the children from the age group 3 years to the 7 year together?
It can be, yeah, I do that too sometimes, but it's challenging, especially 3. Like if you can start 4, the older they get, it's easier to mix age groups. The younger they
Mhm.
are, the more likely you have to separate them. You can always do it. It's like the more experienced, obviously, you are, you give them different tasks. You might them split up once in a while. It's just more challenging.
Okay.
Yeah, but I
Okay.
do.
Because little one attention span is also less.
Yeah, I mean that's one. One is physicality, right? You have to be careful that the little ones don't get injured. With the older ones, and
Yes.
yeah, it's just speed. I mean, everyone needs to be successful. If always the older ones win, that's not that encouraging for the little ones. So there's many different aspects. I think you also have to see. Every group is different. Some groups it
Yeah.
works, some it's challenging. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Thank you so much, Dominic. You have given us a very, very nice inputs and 5 beautiful activities. Crossline activities are really good. And when we club together 3 activities, those were really challenging if your children are able to do it nicely. Okay, we will move to the next question. Monica, can you post the next question, please? Okay. One more question, Dominic, we are getting is what are the benefits of differentiation activities?
Well, think of it this way. Let's say you have a tennis player and he only plays on hard court tennis, always in the same court, always with the same balls, always with the same coach. So he gets
Yeah.
used to, he really gets used to that style of playing tennis, gets used to that court, gets used to that those balls. And once he has to play on a different court, let's say he plays a Grand Slam and plays on grass all of a sudden,
Yeah.
that's where differentiation comes in. So he's not used to adapting. The more differentiation can be thought of as variation. So think of the more you vary, the more you give children impulses to adapt, to learn new skills. And that's pretty much the key to getting better. So you need to make sure you vary everything.
Okay, nice. So differentiation activities are actually going to help the child to adapt to the new situation, new environment, so that he is able to face the challenges.
Exactly. Finding new solutions for new problems.
Okay, great. So Monica, do we have any other question or should we proceed? Okay. So Dominic, you have taken out time from Switzerland, if I'm not wrong. So thank you so much for giving this knowledge, this insight, and information. We are really thankful from the side of. We are thankful for the Fit Futures for giving us an opportunity to meet Dominic and helping everyone to learn from each other. Over to you, Monica.
Yeah, thank you so much, Preeti ma'am, for
My
giving us
pleasure.
time. And specifically, yes, Dominic, we are very glad to have you, the father of motor skill development. So I'm giving you thanks on behalf of Fit Futures and also a great thanks to Mr. Manish, founder of Fit Futures, who had given us the way to reach you.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. So, Dominic, any message from your side to the parents so that they can take care of? You are a father of motor skill development, and if father will give the message, definitely it will make an impact. So, if you can give some your last message to the parents,
Well, let me say 2 things. I mean, hopefully
and
you
also for the educators,
huh?
Yes,
also for the educators.
Okay, for everyone. Okay, let's do for the parents first 1 or 2 things. So for the parents, I want to make sure, or I would like to encourage you to, expose your children to a lot of activities, and don't think it's enough to send them to cricket class at age 7. So you need to be proactive before send them to motor skill classes in or in at least 2 different sports classes when they're young, if it's not available. And
Yes.
also be patient. The skills, take time to build, especially in sports. It takes quite a long time. So you can't expect results too soon.
Yeah.
And for educators, I hope you can actually offer these classes. Hopefully you can convince parents that it's necessary. That's also fun. I mean, it's great fun. Children doing only tennis for an hour every day or every other day. Over time, it gets boring. You can make it way more exciting if you you can weave in these activities into any class. You can still call it tennis class or soccer class or cricket class, but try to expand your ideas and expose children to different things. We have a lot of stuff on our website, motorskilllearning.com. We build PE programs. Ask Fitfutures in India. Thank you again for hosting us. And keep them active. Make sure they get off the screens, get some action going. Use chickens if you need. If you have any of these props, here we go.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Them like this. It's great fun. They love it. And thanks for hosting me. And hopefully we'll see you some other time again for the next.
Of course, yes, Dominic. Of course, yes. Our pleasure it will be. Yes, Monica.
Dominic, before leaving, we want to see the parrot.
Okay, we'll see. This is
yeah. What is its name?
You mean this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is that's a good game you can do with kids too. As I said, the more props you have, the better.
Yeah.
And,
nice one.
You can have children try to shut him up by hitting the beak and run away. That's another game.
Oh my God.
So it's there's many games you can do with this, but yes. Props are fun for kids.
Depend upon the creativity of the educators and the parents.
Yeah, yes. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I hope you had fun.
Yes.
And all the best. Stay safe right now. It's it's difficult times. Hopefully, it gets better soon in your continent as well.
Yes. So thank you so much, Dominic.
You're welcome. Have fun. All the best.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Preeti ma'am.
Thank you so much, Monica.